Galactic Council's warning about humans was ignored. Aliens paid the price. HFY Story. Prologue: The Forgotten Threat. The Galactic Council was a symbol of stability, a coalition that stretched across eons and countless star systems. Its Primarch assembly consisted of the galaxy's oldest and most advanced civilizations, presiding over thousands of member species. The Council was both an arbiter and enforcer, settling disputes and ensuring peace endured. Yet, among its vast archives, buried in data storage units older than most of its delegates, there was a name that resonated with unease: humanity. The humans had been absent from the galactic stage for centuries. Stories of their achievements, both awe-inspiring and horrifying, were whispered among the Council's archivists. Tales of their unmatched capacity for war, their ingenuity under pressure, and their relentless resolve were dismissed as exaggerations, remnants of a primitive past. For the newer species, humanity was little more than a myth. But some of the oldest races knew better. The Zervan archivists, beings of pure energy who had recorded every galactic event for millennia, issued repeated warnings. Their voices, resonating like a chorus of harmonized light, spoke of caution. Humanity is not like others, they warned. They are both builders and destroyers. If provoked, they will shatter the stars to survive. The Torvath Dominion, a militaristic empire led by the avian-like Torvath, dismissed the warnings. High Chancellor Zirak scoffed at the Council's fears during a heated assembly debate. Humans? They're scattered and broken? What could such a primitive race hope to achieve against the might of the Dominion? The Dominion began its campaign against the outer reaches, a sparsely populated sector where human colonies struggled to eke out an existence. The Torvath seized worlds, enslaved populations, and declared victory. They ignored the Council's sanctions, brushing aside diplomatic overtures. Their conquest seemed unstoppable. Until Gallion 4. Chapter 1: Sparks of Rebellion. Gallion 4 was a planet of stark beauty, its twin suns casting long shadows over rolling fields of starflower and dense forests of azurewood. It was a haven for humanity's settlers who sought to escape the clamor of galactic politics. Yet peace on Gallion 4 was shattered when the Torvath Dominion arrived. Their warships cut through the planet's thin atmosphere, leaving contrails of fire in their wake. Dropships landed in waves, disgorging soldiers clad in angular black armor that reflected no light. Commander Alira Korr, stationed at the colony's lone outpost, had barely a moment to assess the situation before the Dominion's orbital bombardment began. Fields that once yielded harvests for trade were reduced to smoldering wastelands. Communications were cut off, leaving Korr and her small team isolated. Refusing to capitulate, Korr organized the settlers into a ragtag militia. The colony's underground storage facilities became armories, stocked with scavenged railguns, improvised explosives, and retrofitted agricultural drones. Every irrigation pipe, wind turbine, and water purifier became a weapon in waiting. The first skirmishes were chaotic. The settlers, untrained but fiercely determined, ambushed Dominion patrols using guerrilla tactics. Farmers with makeshift weapons detonated fuel caches, taking out entire squadrons. In one memorable encounter, Korr led a daring raid to reclaim a Torvath dropship, using it to bombard their own forces. Despite their initial success, the settlers' resolve was tested when Dominion reinforcements arrived. Korr fought with increasing desperation, leading her militia through fiery ruins and collapsing buildings. Her rallying cry, broadcast across the colony's comms, became a beacon of hope. "They've taken our homes, but they will never take our spirit. Fight for each other. Fight for humanity." On the final day, Korr and her remaining fighters were encircled in the colony's central plaza. Exhausted and out of ammunition, they prepared for a last stand. Before the Dominion soldiers advanced, Korr sent a final message into the void. "To all who hear this, humanity will not kneel. Let this be a spark. Rise." Captured but unbroken, Korr was taken aboard the Dominion flagship as the colony was enslaved. Yet her defiance was a seed, and it would grow. Chapter 2: The Council's Dilemma. The Galactic Council's Assembly Hall, a towering crystal dome suspended over the swirling gases of Trilith Spire, was abuzz with tension. Delegates from every corner of the galaxy debated fiercely, their holographic projections flickering as they gestured in agitation. Lyrina Tall, the Zervan archivist, floated at the chamber's center. Her light pulsed with urgency, her voice a symphony of harmonics. "The Dominion's actions are not just a violation of Council law, but an act of reckless provocation. Humanity is not a species to be taken lightly." High Chancellor Girak's hologram dominated the assembly. His avian eyes glinted with contempt as he addressed the room. "Archivist, your fear-mongering is unbecoming. Humanity is scattered and inconsequential. The Dominion has brought stability to the outer reaches." Ambassador Rin Vel, the sole human representative, stepped forward. His presence was an anomaly. Humanity had long been sidelined in galactic politics, yet his voice carried a gravitas born of experience. "The Torvath have underestimated humanity before, and it cost them dearly. We do not seek war, but if pushed, we will not hesitate to defend ourselves." The assembly erupted into argument. Some species, like the Tharvani and Makari, voiced support for sanctions against the Dominion. Others, fearing reprisal or seeking to curry favor, sided with Girak. As the session ended, Rin intercepted Lyrina in the hall. "You know what's coming, don't you?" he asked. The archivist's glow dimmed. Humanity has a fire that burns brightly. If stoked, it will consume everything in its path. I fear the galaxy is unprepared. Chapter 3: The First Strike. The Terran vanguard had been forged in the shadows, a product of humanity's resilience and ingenuity. For centuries, humanity had rebuilt in secret, refining its technology and adapting to the galaxy's ever-changing landscape. Its flagship, the Resolute Blade, was a marvel of engineering, a dreadnought designed for both strength and stealth. Admiral Callan Voss stood on the bridge, his hands clasped behind his back as he studied the holographic display of Villar's Hope, a mining outpost under imminent Dominion attack. The station was vital for humanity's war effort, supplying rare minerals needed for shipbuilding. "Admiral," said Captain Ellis, his second in command, "the Dominion fleet is larger than anticipated. 3 capital ships, 24 escorts, and full fighter support." Voss nodded, his expression unreadable. "Numbers don't win battles, Captain. Strategy does. Prepare the fleet." The Dominion's arrival was swift and brutal. Their warships encircled Villar's Hope, bombarding its defenses. But as they advanced, the Vanguard's stealth frigates emerged from the asteroid field, launching precision strikes at their engines and shield generators. Chaos erupted as Dominion ships lost power, their formations breaking apart. Admiral Therax, commanding the Dominion fleet, growled orders to regroup, focus fire on their flagship. The Resolute Blade responded with a devastating railgun barrage. its hypersonic slugs punching through Dominion hulls like paper. Human fighters swarmed the battlefield, their nimble craft outmaneuvering the Dominion's heavier bombers. On the surface, resistance fighters, emboldened by the Vanguard's arrival, launched a counteroffensive. Armed with advanced exo-armor and rail rifles, they pushed back the Dominion ground forces, reclaiming key installations. The turning point came when Voss deployed the Nova Lancer, an experimental weapon that unleashed a concentrated beam of plasma, slicing through the Dominion's flagship. As the Talon's fury disintegrated, the remaining Torvath ships scattered. Vela's hope was saved, and humanity had its first decisive victory. The message was clear: humanity would not go quietly. Chapter 4. The Alliance Grows. The victory at Vela's Hope sent shockwaves across the galaxy. Humanity's triumph over the Torvath Dominion was unexpected, almost unimaginable, for many species under the Dominion's oppressive rule. It became a rallying cry for the oppressed, a glimmer of hope that freedom could be reclaimed. Word spread like wildfire through underground networks and hidden communication hubs. The seeds of rebellion began to sprout. Admiral Voss knew this victory was only the beginning. Standing on the bridge of the Resolute Blade, he observed the newly liberated Valar's Hope through the viewport. The battered mining outpost, though still scarred by the battle, bustled with activity as engineers and medics worked tirelessly to restore it. "Admiral," said Captain Ellis, "we're receiving a transmission from the Kaltari Council." The Kaltari were an amphibious species native to the oceanic planet Terisia. Their underwater metropolises had long been a source of strategic materials coveted by the Torvath Dominion. After centuries of subjugation, the Kaltari had grown resentful but lacked the means to resist. The hologram of Kaltari High Chancellor Vinthera flickered to life. Her gilled face was stern, her large reflective eyes betraying both fear and determination. "Admiral Voss," she began, her voice rippling like water, "your victory has inspired my people. We wish to fight alongside humanity." Voss's expression softened. "Chancellor, your expertise in aquatic warfare would be invaluable. The Dominion has underestimated us. Together, we can show them the strength of unity." The Kaltari's pledge was the first of many. On the newly liberated world of Lysara, Voss convened the first Alliance Summit. Leaders from humanity, the Kaltari, the Vryn, and smaller factions gathered in a cavernous chamber deep within Lysara's central city. The atmosphere was tense. Centuries of mistrust and cultural divides loomed over the proceedings. Voss addressed the assembly, his voice steady and commanding. "The Torvath Dominion thrives on fear and division. They've kept us isolated because they know our strength lies in unity. Today, we set aside our differences. Together, we will not only resist the Dominion, but dismantle their empire." The room erupted in applause. The alliance was officially born. Chapter 5: The Battle for Sol. High Chancellor Girak, enraged by the growing rebellion, decided to strike at humanity's heart, the Sol system. Earth, humanity's cradle and a symbol of their resilience, became the Dominion's ultimate target. The assault was a calculated move, meant to break humanity's morale and scatter the Alliance. The Dominion fleet, led by Girak himself, was the largest in their history. Hundreds of warships descended upon Sol, blotting out the stars with their sheer numbers. Girak's flagship, the Skybreaker, was a massive dreadnought armed with experimental plasma lances, capable of obliterating entire cities. Admiral Voss, commanding the Alliance fleet, prepared for the battle of a lifetime. Every ship humanity and their allies could muster was called to Sol. The Kaltari's aquatic strike ships emerged from Earth's oceans, their sleek designs cutting through the water and air with equal efficiency. The Vryn deployed swarms of organic drones that blackened the skies above the planet. As the Dominion fleet advanced, the resolute Blade led the charge. Human dreadnoughts exchanged devastating broadsides with Torvath capital ships, their railguns and missile arrays lighting up the void. Fighters darted between the chaos, targeting vulnerable engines and shield generators. On Earth's surface, civilians watched in awe and terror as the skies burned with the light of the battle. Underground shelters buzzed with activity as volunteers distributed supplies and medical personnel prepared for casualties. The turning point came when Voss ordered the activation of the Iron Fist, an orbital defense station hidden on the Moon. The Iron Fist fired a concentrated plasma beam that tore through the Skybreaker, destroying its bridge and killing Girak instantly. Leaderless and demoralized, the Dominion fleet began to retreat. But Voss wasn't finished. "Pursue them," he ordered. "Let them know there's no refuge from the Alliance." Chapter 6: Humanity's Wrath. The Torvath Dominion's capital, Vrynalis, was a fortress world unlike any other. Its surface was a patchwork of towering megacities, defensive citadels, and sprawling industrial complexes. From orbit, it shimmered with the glow of planetary shields, an impenetrable aura of energy maintained by fusion reactors buried deep within its crust. Surrounding the planet was an armada of defensive stations, automated weapons platforms, and the Dominion's remaining fleet, a final bastion of their once mighty empire. The Alliance fleet arrived in coordinated waves, a force so vast it stretched across the orbital plane. Human dreadnoughts, Kaltari aquatic cruisers adapted for void combat, and Vryn swarm carriers formed the vanguard, their engines illuminating the void as they emerged from hyperspace. The resolute Blade led the charge, its massive hull bristling with weapons that gleamed like jagged teeth in the starlight. Admiral Voss stood on the bridge of the resolute Blade, his hands clasped behind his back as he surveyed the incoming data streams. His officers worked with precision, their voices calm, despite the tension that hung in the air. "Status report," Voss ordered. "Enemy fleet is holding position behind the orbital platforms," Captain Ellis replied. "They're forming a defensive perimeter, but their forward stations are vulnerable. If we take out the power relays, we can collapse their outer ring." Voss nodded. "Relay the order. I want the Kaltari to flank their western station and the Vryn to target their automated platforms. Human forces will spearhead the central assault." As the fleet moved into position, the Dominion forces opened fire. Plasma beams and missile salvos streaked across the void, colliding with Alliance shields in bursts of light. The human ships responded in kind, their railguns firing kinetic slugs that tore through enemy armor. The battle escalated into a chaotic symphony of destruction. The Kaltari ships, sleek and agile, weaved through the Dominion's formations, deploying depth-charge-like weapons that detonated in bursts of corrosive energy. The Vryn swarms, hundreds of thousands of organic drones, overwhelmed the automated platforms, their acidic projectiles eating through the Dominion's defenses. The Resolute blade unleashed its full arsenal, targeting one of the primary orbital platforms. Its railgun struck with unrelenting precision, shattering the platform's shield generators. A salvo of torpedoes followed, detonating inside the station's core and reducing it to a fiery wreck. Amid the chaos, the Dominion's flagship, the Iron Talon, charged toward the Alliance lines. High Executor Valk's, Zyrak's successor, had taken personal command of the defense. "They think they've won," Valks growled to his crew. "Let's remind them who they're dealing with." The Iron Talon was an imposing dreadnought, armed with experimental energy lances and reinforced with layers of neutronium armor. Its forward batteries unleashed a torrent of plasma, destroying 2 Vryn carriers and a Kaltari cruiser in quick succession. Voss, observing the flagship's movements, issued a calm but decisive order. "Concentrate fire on the Iron Talon. All ships target their engines and weapons systems." The Alliance fleet adjusted its focus. Railgun slugs and plasma beams converged on the Iron Talon, hammering its shields until they flickered and failed. The Resolute blade moved into position, firing its Nova Lancer, a concentrated beam of plasma that carved a glowing scar across the Dominion flagship's hull. On Vernalis's surface, the battle was equally fierce. Commander Alira Korr led the Alliance ground forces, a coalition of human marines, Kaltari shock troops, and Vryn swarm warriors. The landing zones were met with heavy resistance as Dominion infantry and armored vehicles dug in around the capital's central districts. Korr, clad in advanced exo-armor, moved at the front of her unit. Her HUD displayed a barrage of data, enemy positions, structural weak points, and mission-critical objectives. "Push forward!" she shouted, her voice amplified by her suit. "Take the ridge and secure the artillery cannons." Her Marines surged ahead, their rail rifles spitting kinetic slugs at Dominion defenders. The Kaltari flanked from the waterways, their amphibious tanks climbing the banks and unleashing salvos of torpedoes. Vryn swarms attacked from above, diving through gaps in the Dominion's anti-air defenses and disintegrating their infantry with acidic projectiles. As Korr's unit advanced, they encountered a heavily fortified bunker guarding the entrance to the Dominion's command center. The structure's automated turrets rained fire, forcing the Alliance troops to take cover. Korr devised a bold plan. "Lieutenant Grayson, take a squad through the tunnels. We'll draw their fire topside." The distraction worked. While Korr and her Marines launched a frontal assault, Grayson's squad infiltrated the bunker, disabling its defenses from within. The gateway to the command center was breached. Inside the command center, High Executor Valks watched the feeds from the battlefield with a mixture of rage and desperation. His empire was crumbling, and he knew it. As Korr and her team stormed the chamber, Valks drew his plasma blade, determined to make a final stand. "You'll never take this world," Valks roared, lunging toward Korr. She parried his strike with her rifle, then countered with a powerful blow from her exosuit's reinforced gauntlet. The two clashed in a brutal melee, their movements fast and vicious. Finally, Korr disarmed Valks, her rifle's barrel pressed against his chest. "This is over," she said coldly. "Surrender." Valks sneered, his feathers ruffling in defiance. "The Dominion may fall, but its legacy will endure." Korr pulled the trigger. Epilogue: A New Order. The Torvath Dominion's fall marked the end of an era. Vernalis, Once the seat of an oppressive empire was liberated, the Dominion's surviving leadership was captured and brought before the Galactic Council to face justice. The galaxy, long fractured and fearful, began to heal. Admiral Voss stood on the bridge of the Resolute Blade, now stationed above Earth. Below him the planet shone like a blue jewel, its continents and oceans unscarred by the war that had raged across the stars. The Alliance fleet orbited alongside, a symbol of unity forged in fire. In the newly established United Alliance headquarters, located in the heart of Earth's capital city, representatives from the Kaltari, Vryn, and dozens of other liberated species gathered to sign the Free Worlds Accord. The pact guaranteed mutual defense, shared resources, and a commitment to prevent another empire like the Dominion from rising. Commander Korr, now a celebrated hero, stood on a podium as the crowd chanted her name. She looked out at the sea of faces, human and alien alike, and felt a surge of pride. We fought not for conquest but for freedom. Together, we've proven that no force can extinguish the flame of unity. On Galleon 4, the colony that had sparked the rebellion, settlers returned to rebuild their homes. A towering monument was erected in the central plaza, depicting a defiant Korr standing with her rifle raised. Beneath it, an inscription read, "The spark that lit the stars." The galaxy was forever changed. Humanity, once dismissed as a relic of the past, had risen to become a beacon of hope, and while the scars of war would take time to heal, the future was brighter than it had ever been.